afternoon. Steve Hatkevich is Director of Research and Development for American Trim. Steve joined American Trim in 1990 as project engineer in charge of advancing American Trim's technology and coding. In 2003, Steve was promoted to his current position, Director of Research and Development. Steve has directed American Trim's participation in 5 Ohio third frontier projects that range from developing new coating processes to advancing the manufacturing processes needed for fuel cell market. Steve has authored or co-authored over 20 papers at various technical conferences as part of American Trim's strategy to become recognized as a technological leader in the markets they served. Steve is a graduate of Indiana University with a degree in chemistry. Steve serves as an officer on the boards of the Ohio Fuel Cell Commission and the Ohio Energy and Advanced Manufacturing Center. Steve was recently elected to serve as chairman for the Ohio Fuel Cell Commission. Steve?
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction, Jerry. As I was putting that bio together, because I've been employed for the last 20 years, and if you're employed, you generally don't keep your bio up to date, only when you think you're about to be let go or you're thinking of other opportunities, so that's a good thing. So I was in the process of putting this bio together, going back through the history, trying to recollect everything that I had done and put everything together, and I had the opportunity to work with one of our assistants, and I kept forwarding it back and forth to her, and I finally said, she said, well, what do you think? And she goes, well, I think we'd hire you. So with that, I'll get started. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to explain a little bit about American Trim and also about our innovation process. So with that, I'd like to go briefly over the agenda. I'll go over our company background. I'll talk about some of the markets we serve and some of the products that we produce. The American Trim logo or brand name isn't well known in the marketplace unless you're an OEM manufacturing appliances or heavy truck componentry. I'll talk about our innovation process, and I'll actually start with, what is innovation? I mean, it's been a great buzzword out there in the marketplace. You keep hearing it over and over. It's going to be what saves the U.S. manufacturing. It's going to be what saves the U.S. economy. It's innovation. But when you break it down, what does that actually mean? I'll talk about what's important for innovation in the marketplace. Why is that so important today? And then I'll go over some basic strategies that we use at American Trim to promote innovation. So, company background. We started in 1951. We've been in the Lima area for over 60 years. We're privately held by the Leo Hawk Company. Nick, at one point in time, was president for our parent company at that point in time, which was Superior Metal Products. So we've been located in Lima for many generations. The third generation of the family is currently in charge of it. Leo handed over the, quote, keys to his brother, or sons, Tim and Jeff. Our heritage is in metal forming, decorating, and that type of stuff. Our core values are safety and the environment. Safety is key to what we do. We're a heavy manufacturer. We work with equipment that can become very dangerous if not respected. It's one of our key attributes. Everybody comes to work walking in with all their fingers. We want everybody walking out after work with all their fingers. It's one of the core metrics that every supervisor or employee is graded on. Every meeting at a managerial level starts with safety. What are we doing to promote safety, and how are we going to make it better? We've taken it to such an extreme that we now have safety programs for our employees at home along with their families. It's key to what we do and believe in. Ethics and integrity, also a very important component to who we are as American Trim. You don't stay in business serving customers for 40+ years if you don't have that as your core background. Teamwork in the individual. Teamwork today is extremely important. Today's problems are extremely complex. They're no longer capable of being solved by the single individual. You have to be a team contributor. There's individual contribution, but you have to be a team contributor. Innovation and advancement, part of the reason why I'm here today. It's key and core to who we are as American Trim. 10 years ago, I thought of American Trim only as a manufacturing company. We made parts and components for other manufacturers, whether they be appliances or heavy-duty trucks or automobiles. Today, I stand up in front of you and I say American Trim is a technology company. We just happen to produce parts and components as a means to keep ourselves viable in the marketplace. And obviously, customer satisfaction is always key. If you're going to stay in the marketplace and you're going to stay competitive and you want to continue with grow your business, customer satisfaction always has to be priority number one. The acronym on the bottom is DWYSYWD. Do what you say you do. Gets back to our core integrity. When we make a commitment to our customer, when we make a commitment to our employees, or we make a commitment amongst ourselves, it's our word, it's our bond. It's very important in integrity to what we do at American Trim. Some of our locations. We're primarily located here in Ohio. Our headquarters for our research and development is located right here in Lima. We have the majority of our plants are on what we call the I-75 corridor. So they're located here in Lima, Wapakoneta, and Sydney, Ohio. We have operations in Coleman, Alabama. We have an operation in Erie, Pennsylvania. We also have an operation in Monterrey, Mexico. All said, told, and done, we have about 1.5 million square feet of manufacturing. So pretty substantial when you think about it, spread out amongst 8 facilities. We have about 1,000 employees when you spread them out over all the different locations. So we're a decent-sized company. We're not a Fortune 500 by no means, but we're not a small company. The markets that we service. The appliance market. It's our #1 market. It represents over half of what we do and produce. Most people don't realize it, but every single day, over 120,000 appliances are made every single day in the United States. More importantly, over half of them are made in the state of Ohio. So that leads to a numerous number of jobs important. American Trim supplies components and parts to all the major OEMs. As a matter of fact, I can say with a high degree of certainty, you probably touch or interact with a part or component that American Trim has produced every single day. We're sort of like the BASF of the world for the appliance industry. We don't make appliances, we just make them better. We supply the heavy truck industry. Predominantly what American Trim is known for are decorative components and parts and pieces. We do make some functional stampings for the heavy truck industry, but what we're most known for are the front ends. We make the bumpers and the grille assemblies. Although we would think those to be a functional component for a heavy truck, they're strictly decorative. They have some functionality purposes, but they're used predominantly to give the vehicle character and get the consumer interested in purchasing the product. Automotive is a key component to who and what we are as American Trim. We supply decorative interior trim pieces to the major OEMs across the world. It's a major initiative for American Trim, and it's an area that we hope to continue to expand over the next few years. Other products that we manufacture are some specialty components for the marine industry. We make range hoods, a couple of other odds and ends, things such as backsplashes, rain gutter guards, that type of stuff. These are some of the brands we have the privilege of serving. As you can see, they're some of the most popular brands in the country. We have the luxury of calling them our customers. We produce over 20 million parts every single year across thousands of different SKUs and deliver them to our customers just in time. And that's crucial because you cannot miss a delivery to a customer. Some of the things that set American Trim apart from the rest is our ability to have design. We recognize design as the marriage of art and science or engineering. When you take art and you blend that with engineering and science, you're left with design. And in design is a key component to innovation. It's one of the characteristics or components that makes America so great. If you think of all the great iconic brands, all the great new components or electronics and various different products that are made, they all originate and start here in this country. It's a key component to who we are. One of the key components that American Trim involves themselves in deals with the aesthetics, how something looks, touches, or feels, those touch points that a consumer likes. If you think of the appliance industry, for years it was known as the white goods industry, with good reason. I mean, you'd go in the store and there'd be nothing but white. Today, there's a variety of different colors, components, and so forth. We help our customers make their product differentiate so that when a consumer goes by them, will stop, look, and maybe become interested in, gathering a little bit more information about that part or component. So we use design to inspire that innovation process. We have our in-house design studio. All of the major OEMs in the appliance industry send their designers to our facility to become familiar with the design process. We use it to leverage to gather more experiences and also gather more insights into our customers. We also use it as a sales tool. Most customers only know you for what you supply them. They don't know you for the capabilities that you have. The design showroom is a place where we can bring our customers and show them everything that we can do. Not just what we do for them, but what we do for other groups and industries. It's also an opportunity for us to take our customers and bring them in an environment where they can innovate amongst themselves. They can say, well, I like the finish on that car bumper, but I would like to marry it with that automotive interior. And if we could do something like I see on that appliance control panel, that inspires the innovation process. So you have to have that environment to make this possible. In American Trim, we're fortunate enough to have had a management team that had the vision to put a center together. Our center has been in existence for over 10 years. We've had over thousands of visitors. Decorating. This is one of the key characteristics that separates American Trim from our competitors. What we do is take metal or substrates, it could be aluminum, steel, tin, plastic, copper, and we apply decorations to it through either a screen printing process or some other methods to decorate it. American Trim decorates 6.5 million square feet of material every single year. We are the largest industrial screen printer in the United States. We print more in a day than most customers print in a year. There are very few competitors or customers that print at the volume and scale that we do. It's what we use to help our customers differentiate their products in the marketplace. To make this possible, we actually have our own coatings manufacturing facility. 20 years ago, as we were trying to become innovative in the marketplace, we would go to various different paint suppliers, ink suppliers, and ask them for unique coatings. They said, sure, we could go ahead and make that for you. We need to sell you 2 tankers a week, 80,000 gallons. We needed 8 gallons a month. Created a little bit of a problem or an issue. So at that point in time, we had to develop our own coatings and ultimately our own capability to make our own coatings. So today, about 80% of our dollar volume is produced in-house, but we buy the majority of our high-volume coatings from the current suppliers in the marketplace. We have ongoing relationships with most major coating OEMs. As a matter of fact, my sidekick at DuPont would often come to American Trim to work on projects because I had all of the research tools that he had, but under one roof and easy access to them. At DuPont, they were siloed into various different groups. He would often come to me and say, Steve, if a new chemistry came out, it would take me 9 months to get it into a coating so that I could share it with my customer. I can do that in 9 days. It gives us a huge advantage. So we use that to leverage to be innovative into the marketplace. So as new products come out, whether it offers better performance or it offers a new look or an appearance, it gives us the opportunity to be first in the marketplace. And as most of you will know, being first into the marketplace is a nice advantage. We're known for our metal forming processes, and we have all the major metal forming processes within our corporation. So innovation. So Why is innovation so important for U.S. manufacturers today? You know, what's changed and why can't it be just like it was 10 years ago or 15 or 20 years ago? And the answer is global competition. The U.S. manufacturing system was working just fine until global competition came across. The U.S. manufacturing system was designed and predicated on only competing amongst ourselves. When we had global competition come into the marketplace, we had things that happened to the manufacturing market that were beyond our control. They talk about free trade, but it's not necessarily fair trade. You had various countries or organizations that would manipulate currency, would not respect intellectual property, would do a variety of different things that would put the U.S. manufacturer at a disadvantage. So there had to be a way for us to compete in this new global marketplace, because the reality is it's a world global market. So how do we compete in this new world marketplace? Well, if we think about it, one of the greatest advantages we have amongst the United States is we're surrounded by water. So if you're going to try to make a component in another country, you've got to ship it by ship into this country. And it takes anywhere from 6 weeks to, let's say, 3 months to get it here. So if we can innovate products quicker and faster than the competition can get them to our shoreline, or we have more SKUs, basically different products that we can make, it becomes extremely difficult, if not impossible, for those manufacturers to compete. Obviously, they'll be able to make bulk components and ship them into this country. But where the U.S. manufacturer wants to thrive and exist is in that value-add manufacturing. You don't want to try to compete on cost, because when you ultimately try to compete on cost, it ultimately comes down to the cost of labor. And I'm a big proponent of keeping our standard of living higher than the rest of the world, not lower or at standards outside of what the U.S. So if you're going to compete against cost, and cost is ultimately going to drive to the lowest cost labor, you're in a dying or a decaying market. So how do we work against that? How do we set something up against that? And we do it through innovation, through new product design, so forth. I use the Apple model as my inspiration. 15, 20 years ago, they got into the digital media players, your iPods. Okay? Today, they own a 95% market share in the most competitive marketplace in the world. You want to know why? Because they basically say, go ahead and try to copy my product. Next year, I'm coming out with something newer and better. And even though we have iPods that work, we go buy the next generation or the next generation iPhone. So we can use that innovation to drive new products into the marketplace. So that's why innovation is so important, especially for U.S. manufacturers. So you have to be adopting the new technologies. You have to be able to innovate, create new products, and so forth. So with that, we get to, all right, Steve, we're ready. We're going to line up. We're going to innovate. What does that mean? What is the innovation process? I mean, we hear a lot about it. How do we actually do that? Can you break it down for us? Well, if you really break it down, it's taking an idea and adding the commercialization of it. The idea by itself is of no value. I mean, we all have great ideas. They're a dime a dozen. But marrying the idea with a commercialization plan so that you can monetize it. I mean, we're all in business to make profit. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's what keeps the economy going. It's what keeps our livelihood moving forward. So it's that idea of taking an idea and marrying that with commercialization, which is the simplest format I've ever found to explain innovation. So how do we go about doing that? So it's all about developing that idea. You have to develop a product or a service that's needed in the marketplace. And when you break it down, where does those ideas and where does that need come from? It's all about building your network. You know, we're very fortunate in the state of Ohio to have an incredible academic system around us. We have supportive development groups. In the city of Lima, we have a junior college, Road State College. You can go there for ideas and concepts. We have the OEAMC, the Ohio Energy and Advanced Manufacturing Coalition. They're mission or statement is to try to advance technology development so that our local companies can continue to thrive and expand in the manufacturing environment. So these networks are important for the innovation process. Whether you network with your peers, whether you network with your customers, whether you network with trade organizations or whatever, you've got to find an idea or a product or a service that serves the needs of the marketplace. You've got to be constantly looking at that. How can I make my product better? Because in the innovation process, what you're trying to do is obsolete yourself. If you want to control your own destiny on where you want to go in the marketplace, and we're competing in this marketplace which is extremely competitive. Business is a blood sport. There's winners and losers. And you got to pick which side you want to be on. So one way to do that is to obsolete yourself. Control your own destiny. Use the innovative spirit. Use innovation as a way to drive new products and services forward. Because if you're not, your competitors are. And sometimes your competitors can come from regions that you don't even know about. Let's look at Kodak as an example. They were so entrenched in the film market. They totally said, oh, we're here. There's no way we have to worry about Fujifilm. We've got this licked. We're going to milk this cow for as long as she keeps giving it. Out comes the digital camera. The sad thing was, you know who had it first? Kodak. Why did they choose to do? Oh, we can't obsolete ourselves. We've got this cash cow here. We've got to just bury this, hide it. And they thought that would solve their problem. It didn't. It came out in the marketplace. Today, Kodak's being liquidated, and some of the competitors that didn't even exist today are in the process of buying their key patents and so forth. So it's important that you build your network and you try to find ways to develop new products. Obsolete yourself. This is I borrowed this slide from Rich Spivey from the Ohio Manufacturing Initiative. He put together this slide, and it's an eye chart, but basically what I wanted to put forward is there's numerous resources available for us as Ohio manufacturers to leverage to try to develop new products, to innovate, to move things forward. Everything from as simple as just the university systems to centers of excellence, to the Edison centers, to junior colleges, to trade groups. There's all sorts of places to look to build your network. It's an important part of the process. And it's not easy. People will say, well, I made one call. I'm like, interesting. My basic strategy is I will go make 100 calls to find 5 that I think are worthy. I'll then continue to call those 5 another 5 times to develop and create that relationship to move products and projects forward. It's not easy. But if you work the process, there's huge rewards in the end. So how do you manage the innovation process? So we've decided we're going to go ahead and be innovative. Now we're going to basically move projects forward. How do you actually move this process forward without bankrupting your company and still doing the work that you need to do on a day-to-day basis? We at American Trim follow what we call the stage gate process. It's nothing new. It's been out in industry probably for 30 or 40 years. It's used for a variety of different industries. And it starts with the idea screen at the beginning, and then it goes through a gate. The key to a successful stage gate program is gate discipline. Having people, peers, or groups work to review the gates. Did this project meet the metric? You're not looking for reasons to approve. Good projects work their way on through. You're looking for people to kill projects that don't work. We start with 1,000 ideas. We'll work to 100 to go through the first gate. If we get 3 to 5 at the end, it's a huge success. Most people fail in the process because they try to pick the winner and push it through the process, or don't follow the discipline of the actual approach. So if we look at the basic outline, it starts with first a scoping. It's a quick, relatively low-cost idea where you look for the technical merit. And most projects, if they have any kind of wherefore, will work their way through the scoping project. Hey, we want to paint this project red, or paint this product red. It's normally black. Can we paint it red? You paint it red, and no problem. where the majority of the projects find themselves being killed is in building the business case. And if you think about it, we're all in business to make a profit. That's the key attribute right there. I would say 70 to 80% of the projects get killed right there. There's no compelling moment. Yeah, it's a better mousetrap, but the current mousetrap works just fine. Or, yeah, we could make this product, but there's no way to sell it. Or there's no defined marketplace. Or the market won't recognize the value for it. We had numerous products that we had made for our customers. Great innovations. They were like, yeah, we'll take it for nothing, but there's no added value to it. We can't sell it for more to our customer. So a lot of projects find themselves being cut off right there at that standpoint. Then you've got the development activity. I mean, that's what my core team does. We take those projects that have worked their way through the building, the business case, and we develop them. We go through the engineering disciplines to make the parts to prove production worthiness, and then we move that into the final testing and validation, and then full commercial launch. The idea of the process is, as you start the process, it's relatively inexpensive. As you work the process through, you add more and more money in it, but you gain more and more confidence in the product that you're actually going to work. When we say only 3 to 5 have made it to the final stage, there were probably only 7 or 8 that made it through stage 4. Stage 3 was only maybe 10. So the majority of them are being picked off at the business case. And this gets to another key point. It's important for business people to have an engineering discipline, to understand the engineering side of it, but more importantly, it's important for the engineers to understand the business case. We need to become better rounded in our skills and disciplines. The day of one day just having a silo of engineers, a silo of business people, a silo of marketing people, that no longer works. You have to have cross-functional teams. And that's where you have to have your peer and your groups working together. So, what are some methods to support the innovation process? What are some techniques that American Trim does to, be innovative, to create new products and so forth? One thing we do is we support internships. American Trim, we're not an extremely huge organization, but over the last 3 years, we had 50 interns work through our organization, from everything from accounting to marketing to engineering and so forth. They're a great inspiration for our team. They come in with a fresh mindset. They don't know what can't be done. They're open to all new ideas and possibilities. More importantly, it helps strengthen our core of our engineers ourselves. If you really want to become an expert in your discipline, teach someone else that discipline. It's the best way to move it forward. Some of the great stories I like to tell about our internship program is we were working a project where we had to put a chemistry into a mold. We had all our senior engineers and we were working on elaborate systems to get the material into this ideal location. And we had one of the younger intern guy came up and he says, well, why don't we just pour it through on the side like this? I watched my mom do this when she makes some kind of cookie or something, and you flow it in, it burps and it goes in. I'm like, yeah, it'll never work. And he poured it, did it, and it worked. I'm like, well, everybody gets lucky. After the 10th time, I said, well, maybe he's on to something. So sometimes that naivety brings us back in roots, because we as engineers sometimes, we love complexity. And the more the bells, the whistles, break out the algorithms and the way we go. But they bring in that freshness to it. So it's an important part to our innovative process. We also supply products into the consumer marketplace. So every one of our employees is also a consumer of these products too. So we can use them. Would you buy this? What do you like less about it? And things like that. The other thing that's interesting about internships is that term is kind of opening up. I always thought of interns as being young students. Last year, we had a gentleman work through our team as an intern. He was in his mid-50s. His name amongst the team members was Grandpa. So as people are being dislocated and taking on new jobs in new areas, you have these new opportunities moving forward. And although his area of expertise in what he was newly being trained in was relatively fresh, he brought in immense life experiences and other ideas and ways of bringing in concepts that we at American Trim would have never thought of. He came out of an industry totally unrelated to what we were working with, so his ideas and concepts, although maybe not working perfectly for American Trim, they helped inspire the ideas that did. So I would strongly encourage organizations to find ways to utilize interns within your group. It's not only a rewarding experience for the student, but it's also a very rewarding experience for the mentors to work them through. The other area that American Trim does to try to support this is the support of STEM activities. The innovative process is extremely dependent on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And if we're going to be competitive in the long run, we're going to need to have the students of tomorrow be accepting of this and be knowledgeable in it. So we've got to find ways to inspire the younger students to recognize the importance of those disciplines. And we at American Trim offer opportunities for young students to come to American Trim and mentor with engineers to see the importance of the STEM activities. And basically, we can get about 90% of them to change their mindset and want to maybe study a little bit more about the mathematics and the science because they see there's a pretty good rewarding job in the future with that. So, with that, 1 o'clock. So I'll briefly go through some of our technologies. Our main focus is to push agile manufacturing. That is the ability to make parts vary on an ongoing basis. Today, the U.S. manufacturing system is based on mass production, not mass customization. We have our materials deposition center. This is basically our attempt to do additive manufacturing. We're using the ability of, much like your home printer, to put parts and projects together like that. At some point in time in the future, it'll maybe come as strong as like a replicator that you saw in Star Trek. This is an example of some of the technology and how we've been able to improve it. The 4-color process to the left is the current state of the art. We currently do screen print. Our digital print bar is to the right. We'll be commercializing that off of Baxter Street sometime next year. We have our Elodyne EC squared product. This is basically attaching ceramic glass to aluminum. It gives outstanding corrosion and chemical properties. It can be used in an internal combustion engine to help improve efficiency and clean up the environment. Our neatest, or as I call it, the opportunity the most, is our high velocity metal forming. For years, people formed metal. If you go back into the ancient age, you have the anvil and hammer. Today, modern techniques are just bigger hammers and more sophisticated. Electromagnetic forming, or HVMF, is forming metal at the speed of a bullet. We use electromagnetic force waves to do the metal deformation, and it gives us some incredible capabilities. Basically, here I'm showing some of the benefits. We're actually forming the metal at the speed of a bullet. And when we do that, the metals and the alloys that we work with perform much more like liquids than they do solids. And it gives us some unique capabilities. We're leveraging those capabilities to make components for fuel cells. American Trim believes that the next major appliance for a home or office space will be distributed energy. Fuel cells will be one of those techniques that will be used to do that. We can use it to do micro and macro embossing. To give you another example of some of the benefits with it, to the left you see the larger footprint system. The electromagnetic forming one is the smaller one to the side. So it's really agile. You can move it around on a shop floor, put it wherever you want, and use that to shape and bend the metal into the location you want it to. So with that being 5 minutes over and overextending my welcome, I'll conclude. So I hope you found it enjoyable, and thank you for this opportunity.